Hi, this is Paul Howell, Managing Editor for Singapore Business Review. And today I'm presenting the Technology Excellence Awards, celebrating all the best, the brightest, and the most dynamic digital projects from across Singapore's diverse business landscape. Winning in the cybersecurity category for IT products was Group IB Global, and I'm joined now by its Managing Director for Asia Pacific, Shafique Dawood. Shafique, great to have you here. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. We are very honored to be receiving this award.
Can you start by telling us a bit about the Group IB Threat Intelligence and Attribution platform? What is that and how does it work?
Group IB has been in the business of tracking threats in the digital domain for right now about 18 years. Now, in the course of doing that, we have accumulated a lot of intelligence related to these threats. And we supply this information because we have the subject matter expertise to understand from different sources of data. For example, the dark web, for instance, right? Combined with other forms of intelligence because we have the necessary crews, such as the digital forensics lab that we have. At one point in time, it was the biggest lab in the Eastern Europe side. And we have APT threat hunting crews and personnel who make it all happen. This information is then very vital to organizations who want to improve their security posture. They want to protect themselves against such threats, and it is all laid out for them, tailored for them in accordance with their country, their geography, their demographics, their business, their vertical. And the differentiator here is we focus on it being threat actor centric. What does that mean, basically? It basically allows us to attribute the threat. So instead of just being told that you are having a threat to your assets, to your digital assets, to your organization, we are helping you to understand who is the attacker. We are attributing it to specific groups with specific motivations, be it maybe financial or otherwise, such as nation state, or a combination of those, right? So that's the Threat Intelligence and Attribution platform coming out of Group IB.
So you're actually out there sort of catching the bad guys, if I'm going to be very colloquial about it.
Our motto is that we have a zero tolerance to cybercrime. If you were to research a little bit about Group IB, we've been involved in more than 1,000 investigations, some of which are public profile, high profile cases. In fact, one of the latest ones that we just did was in which we worked together with the Nigerian law enforcement to be able to make some arrests in Nigeria. The operation was called Operation Falcon. Another such example would be at the end of last year, where we worked in conjunction with the Baris Krim, which is the law enforcement coming out of Indonesia, and the cyber police there to arrest another group of people in which we were involved in this operation called Operation Night Fury. This is basically what we do. We catch criminals for a living, and that's why the term that we often use is, zero tolerance to cybercrime. We work closely with the likes of Interpol and Europol. As you understand, when criminals cross borders, there are jurisdictional issues as well that one has to take into account. And that's what makes me wake up in the morning to go to work, because I consider myself as an emergency service, an essential emergency service. We get calls in the middle of the night, and sometimes we have to attend to incidents and respond to it immediately.
Well, certainly, I think that's the nature of cybersecurity in the modern era, I suppose. The risk is so great and so immediate. Is that the right way to look at it?
Last year alone, ransomware, if you're familiar with the term, took on approximately more than $1 billion. There are specific groups such as Maze or ReEvil, better known as Sodinokibi, who basically come into your organization and encrypt all your data, giving you a loss of business continuity. And then they write a very polite ransom note to you and says, Mr. CEO, we have locked your entire systems, we've encrypted it, we've exfiltrated your data, We know how much money you make on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a yearly basis. Is all out there. In fact, we've stolen that too. And this is the ransom. Please pay us in the form of Bitcoin, or continue to face more business disruption. So this alone will be able to tell you that the level of proliferation of such crimes are just continuing to evolve. The methods that are being used are more advanced, and tools that you see coming out of the 80s and the 90s are not there to be able to keep up with such evolution due to the enormity of data, due to the level of sophistication in terms of the TTPs, or the threats, the techniques, and the different processes involved in conducting such exploits. This is where Group IB shines because of its people. It's basically its people that make all of this possible. The subject matter experts who do this on a daily basis, making it second nature to us to dissect into the scene of a crime, and to understand how the exploit came about, and then to match it against our knowledge base of 18 years to then attribute which threat actor is this. Why are they motivated to do this? Who are these guys? When did they come and do this? Is it really true that they have stolen your data? And then we are able to advise not only onto the state of affairs of that organization, but we are able to then help them to use mitigating techniques to prevent such a recurrence.
So I think I understand the complexity of it all. But do you work across all verticals, or is it really just cybersecurity specifically?
That's a very important question, Paul. It's more important than you can imagine. Every single industry is subject to some potential attack, some potential exploits. So most of us have email. Most of us use Windows, for example, right? So these are things that you can't get away from, right? Especially these days when you're using your handphone to enter every single access point of a building, or a mall, right? But to really truly answer your question, I think in the context of Singapore, for instance, we have things like Industry 4.0 that's coming up and being very vital in terms of establishing specific standards, specific policies, guidelines, regulations. And this is where Group IB is innovative and continuously evolving. For example, like our threat hunting framework is now able to not only see IT-related attacks, but also what we call OT, or operational technologies, giving you a sense of why this is so important. In the past, we've seen, last year alone, we saw multiple different electrical providers that have been attacked. And just imagine the devastation here if a single constituency had its power supply shut off. How long does a UPS? A UPS is sort of like a backup, for the electrical supply. It can only last a specific, threshold of time. So these are things that we see happening in power plants. We're seeing it in manufacturing. We're seeing it happen in oil and gas. So it's across not only your standard, financial, government that are being attacked. Even OT systems are being attacked right now. And this is a real issue because that's why we have to work in a consortium approach. It's all about sharing this intelligence that you have and creating the awareness across the industry. So that's why we partner up with people like FS ISAC, OT ISAC, and these are some of the providers of these are some of the institutions, so to speak, that have a lot of members who rely on them to give them sort of like an understanding of what's going on in terms of the status quo today. What are my current threats? So we work closely, we provide such information to these entities, and thereby creating the awareness. And then from there, we are able to garner more traction with the market, with the industry. We're able to help influence a better cybersecurity posture, not only for that vertical, for that particular industry, but also for the betterment on a national perspective, and hopefully now globally.
Now, you're a global company, but your headquarters is right here in Singapore. Can you tell us some of the thinking and strategy behind placing the global headquarters right here?
Well, first and foremost, aside from its glorious amount of diversity and food, Singapore is a melting pot for a lot of different diversified people and cultures and also expertise, right? So we know the kind of efforts that the Singapore government places into knowledge-based economy. We know Singapore thrives in being innovative and ahead of the curve, always in front of the curve. Look at the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Look at our fintech festivals here. So aside from that would be having a global headquarters here will enable us to serve the clientele. APAC is a very important market for Group IB as we expand throughout the world. We took into account stable government, stable foreign exchange. The currency in Singapore is much more stable than a few of the other surrounding countries, for example. That's pretty evident. Most importantly, it is about people. We know that Singapore thrives in educating its people, pushing the boundaries, always trying to stay ahead of the curve, as I mentioned. The thought leadership is what we like to have. That's why we work closely with the Singapore authorities, such as the IMDA, for instance. And when we first got into Singapore, we wanted to ensure that we are closely aligned with parties such as law enforcement, right? We are aligned with law enforcement throughout the region, aside from Interpol, which is also based out of Singapore. And this is what creates the excitement for us to build our global headquarters here. The transparency, the good governance, the good legal system that it has. So, and it's a lot of sunshine, and that's what we like.
Lastly, Shafique, what does it mean to you and all of your team to have won at this year's Technology Excellence Awards?
We really find it to be an honor to have won the SBR Technology Excellence Awards. We have been getting a lot of recognition recently, throughout different institutions, independent entities who give out such accreditations and also benchmarks, right? So SBR Technology Excellence Award is a very important award that we believe will also enable us to join the ranks of other companies who are also winners, and that will enable the relevant parties who are interested to improve their cybersecurity posture, to get a better understanding of Group IB, what it does, its people, and how we are able to protect you because Group IB has an absolute zero tolerance to cybercrime.
Shafique Dawood, thank you very much for joining me, and congratulations once again.
Thank you very much, Paul.